our bottoms in a little seated position, nice and easy, no big deal. Give ourselves a little wiggle so we can find our stillness, find those sitting bones pressing into our mats. And close our eyes, breathe in through our nose, out through our mouths. And take a little bit of inventory on how we are feeling today, both physically, maybe even a little emotionally. This is going to be a bit of a crazy week, I think, as it is the beginnings of the holiday season, but as this year is a little bit different than most, it might bring up some feelings or some frustrations. And we can just recognize that we're having those feelings. If there's anything that we can do about it, we can make that list. But if we can't do anything about it, we just kind of have to let it go. And then we'll inhale and we'll lift those hands up to the sky, opening up the fingers really wide, little jazz hands here. Drop the shoulders away from our ears. Breathe into the belly. And then exhale, we'll just tip over to the right. You can lower that right hand down to the floor and reach up and over with the left, stacking the shoulders. Pressing that left hip back down into our mats. And then inhale, we'll come up. And then exhale over to the left. And then inhale back up to the top. And then exhale, let's bring those elbows down into a cactus arm and then lifting up the chest. Maybe lift the chin a little bit, tiny arch in the back. And then exhale, let's just bring those arms out in front of us. We'll roll down into a bit of a forward fold. Rounding in the spine, just drop that head. Good. Inhale, we'll lift. Exhale, little arch in the back, cactus arms. Inhale, hands come up high, and then exhale, we'll just roll down into a forward fold. Do that one more time. Inhale, nice and tall. And exhale, lift that heart, lower the elbows. Inhale up, and then exhale, rounding as we fold forward. Let's just keep our heads low. Shoulders and chests are just melting down toward the floor. And then slowly we'll walk those hands back, roll our way back up to seated. Right here, hands will stay on our knees. We inhale, lengthen in the spine, and then exhale, we'll just walk those hands around to the right. Tiny twist here, little twist, nothing super, super huge. Just reminding our body that it can go in this direction. And then back to the center. And then around to the left. and then back to the center. Good. Let's do that one more time each side. Just slowly walking around to the right. The right hand will come back behind us. Lengthen on the inhale. Exhale, twist maybe a little bit deeper. And then back to the center. And then around to the left last time. And then again, back to the center. Let's bring those hands out in front of us and we'll roll over the shins and come onto our hands and our knees. Hands will come underneath of our shoulders, knees under our hips and our tabletop. And then we tuck that tail just the tiniest a bit. Get rid of that arch in the back. And now begin to breathe deeply into our belly, into our side body, into our backs. Lengthen all along our necks. Pressing into the hands, keeping those shoulders strong. Good, and we'll tuck those toes underneath, flexing the feet. And now, keeping our back and tummy strong, we're just gonna barely lift those knees up off of the ground. And exhale, lower them back down. Inhale, lift the knees just a little bit, but what we're working on is keeping that spine straight, keeping the core strong. Exhaling down. Good, one more time, lifting those knees. And back down, good. Keeping that strong spine as we lift up the right hand, reaching out in front of us. And then we'll press that left foot back behind. And then we turn those toes down toward the floor, to the ground, so that that left hip stays flat with the right. Keeping that strong tummy, reaching with the fingers, pressing with the heel. And then exhale, back down to our mat. And then we'll lift the left hand up, reaching with those fingers, feeling the activity in our tummy. We'll press back with that right heel. And back down. Good. Right hand, left foot. And exhaling down. Inhale, left hand, right foot. And back down. Very good. Tabletop position, pressing into those fingers. Let's round into our cat, tucking our tail, bringing our chin to our chest, lifting the spine up to the sky. And then inhale, let's drop that tummy. Lift the heart. Lift the tail, open up that heart. Good. Exhale, rounding into our cat. And inhaling cow. Exhaling cat. And inhaling cow. Good. Finding that flat back again. When I say neutral spine, that doesn't mean lazy spine. It just means flat, remember. And then from here, we're just going to take our hip and our shoulder and bring them over to the same side. So our right hip, right shoulder are going to come together. We can even look over that right shoulder. And then back to the center. And then over to the left, bringing that hip and the shoulder, making like a little C shape. And then back to the center. Again, to the right. And to the center. Last time, over to the left. And back to the center. Very good. Let's soften those feet. We'll come down to a child's pose. Hips are over our heels. Arms are out in front of us. Just really sinking Down low, in towards our mat. Good, and then inhale, we'll come up to our half plank. So a little plank on our knees, hands are underneath of our shoulders, long spine, looking forward just a little bit. And then exhale, chest will go forward, elbows will go back, lowering ourselves down. From here, hands are underneath of our shoulders. Inhale, let's scoop our way up to a little cobra. And then exhale, press into those hands. We'll come back to our child's pose. Good. Inhale up, little plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, little cobra. And then press back, child's pose. Good. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Inhale, scoop. And pressing back. Staying here in child's pose for a breath. Good. From here, let's walk those hands over to the right, bringing our chest over that right knee, reaching across with the left hand. And then slowly, let's walk the hands over to the left. Keeping the hips low, walking those fingers across with that right hand. And then back to the center. And then let's come up to our tabletop again. Good. From here, let's reach out that right leg back behind us. Good. And then we're just going to step that buddy all the way forward up into a lunge. Right now we're going to go into this lunge where the back leg is at an angle. Hands are to the inside of this right foot. Lengthen in the spine. Pulling those shoulders back. Good. And now let's step back to our child's pose. Good. Inhale up to our tabletop. We'll reach that left leg back behind us. And then we'll step that buddy forward into our little lunge. Take some breaths. Let those hips just relax. And then stepping back, child's pose. And now this time, as we come up, we'll bring the right foot forward. And now this time our lunge will be more at 90 degrees. So our front knee will be at a 90 degree, and our back knee is going to be straight underneath of our hip as well. We'll come up to a high lunge. Hands can be to our thigh at first. Think about tucking that tail instead of sticking our butt out. We're going to be a little bit more shy here. Lengthen in the spine, pull those shoulders back, and we should be able to feel this right or this left hip flexor. Open up a little bit, lengthen. Good. And then we can lift up the left hand. Extend that stretch. And now we're just going to begin to tilt over to the right. Keep thinking of that low back opening up, tucking that tail. You should, as we tuck, we'll feel the opening in the front of that hip, hopefully. Good. And then back to the center. Both hands can come to the thigh or to our hearts if we would like. And we're just gonna heel toe, walk this right foot out just a little bit. And the toes will point at about a 45-degree, but our hips are still gonna point forward here. Good. Think about tucking that tail, and we're just going to start to bend this right knee. As we exhale, and then inhale, we'll come back. Exhale down, tucking that tail, lengthening. And back up. One more time, exhale. And back up, good. And now let's heel toe, Take that knee out a little bit wider. Toe can point out to the side, because it'll be really hard to do it this way. So toe can point out. We're almost probably to a 90-degree or somewhere in that vicinity. And again, hips are still pointing forward as we sink down. And inhale up. And exhale down. And inhale up. Exhale. And inhale up. Good. And now let's come back. Heel toe, heel toe. Taking our time, coming all the way back to the front. Good. And now let's do that one time here. Let's bend that right knee. Come forward. We should feel a little bit different in both of our hips. And coming on up. And exhale down. And inhale up. Good. One more time. Exhale. Coming on down. Good. And back up. Excellent. From here, let's take this right hand and we'll bring it to the inside of the right leg. Good. And we'll just begin to turn our shoulders a little bit. We can lift up the left hand if we would like. We can reach it back behind us. You can keep it on our hip. You can pick your nose for all I care. I don't know. Good. And slowly, let's just bring that left hand forward. Both hands find the mat, and we'll step back. Come to our child's pose. What if we put on some music, Jonah? Good. And then inhale. When we're ready, coming up, we're going to bring that left foot forward. We got to do it on this side too. So we're in this lunge where our hip is over our knee, nice and tall. Think about, we can even put our hand behind. Feel as we tuck our tail, how that opens up this back right here. We'll begin to open up the front of that right hip. Begin to grow nice and tall. And then when we're ready, we can lift up that right hand. And then let's begin to tilt over to the left. Still opening behind us, opening in front of us, and now we're opening up to the side. Good, and back up to the top. Good, hands can come to the thigh or to our hips or to our hearts, and we're just gonna open up about to a 45-degree, heel toe, toes are pointing to the corner of the room, but the hips are still pointing to the top of our mat. as we slowly bend that left knee and then coming on back up. Exhale down. It's totally fine for our knee to go in front of our ankle here. Usually I'm pretty nitpicky about that, but today I'll let it go. Exhaling. Use that breath. And coming on up. Let's do that one more time because it felt so good. And back up. Beautiful job. And now let's open up a little bit further. You find where you're at today. On this side, your hips might be a little bit different on each side. Hips are still pointing out to the top of our mat, but then we're just going to exhale. Bend that left knee. Whew. And inhale, coming on up. Exhale down. And inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale up. Let's do that one more time. Tuck that tail. Good. And back up. Beautiful job. Walk that foot around to the front. And we'll come around and do it here. So think about keeping those hips forward and even, and then exhale. Let's come down. Bringing that knee nice and bended. And then inhale up. And exhale down. And inhale up. Good. Exhale. And inhale back up. And now let's take that right arm to the inside of the left leg, or the left arm to the inside of the left leg. That would be really difficult. Good. And then begin to just turn our shoulders. Lift that right hand. Good. And now let's bring both hands back down to our mat. We'll step back with that left leg into our child's pose. Let's take a few breaths here. Give the hips a little bit of a break. Round in that spine. Good. Let's open up the fingers nice and wide. And deliberately pressing each finger into the mat. Good and strong. Let's pull the shoulders away from our ears. Breathe into our tummies, and we'll tuck our toes underneath of our butts. Stretch out those arches and our ankles. And then when we're ready, let's begin to lift our hips up into downward facing dog, lengthening in that spine, bending the knees, pedaling the feet. Good, and now let's inhale, coming forward to a plank. Plank can be on our toes here, but if we feel more comfortable to be on our knees, we can definitely do that. Pressing into those hands, breathing into the tummy, lengthening all along the backs of our legs. And now, as we exhale, we shift our shoulders forward and lower ourselves down. Good. And now inhale, we can do a little cobra if we would like. We can come up to an upward facing dog. We'll tuck those toes and lift our hips, pressing back into a downward facing dog. Good, let's inhale forward. Nice and strong. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, cobra or upward facing dog. Tuck those toes. Lift the hips, pressing back with those hands, downward facing dog. Good, let's lift up the right leg. Good. Exhale, let's bring that knee into our chest, hovering forward into our plank. And then pressing back, lengthening back into our down or three-legged dog. Good. Bringing that knee in as we inhale. Pressing back as we exhale. Inhale, bringing that knee in. And exhale, lengthening. Good. Last time, bringing that knee into our chest. Let's set ourselves up for pigeon. So the right knee will come behind that right wrist. We'll keep that left leg nice and long. We'll bring that left hip forward to meet the right. So we don't have a front hip and a back hip. They're both in the same plane. Take several breaths here. Find where we're at. We can stay up on our hands if we would like. Or if we feel like we want to fold, we can walk those hands out in front of us. Lower our chest down, but keeping that back nice and straight as we lower down. Keeping our hips even and level. Can come to our elbows. After a couple of breaths, maybe we walk a little bit forward, lower that chest down a little further. Find where we're at today. If we get to a spot and we don't like it, we can always push the rewind. Find where we want to be. Stay here for a few more breaths. Let's do one more inhale. Stay for that full exhale. As we breathe in, we'll walk those hands back, lifting our chest. We'll tuck that left toe back behind us, and we'll step back, downward facing dog. Give ourselves a little wiggle, pedal it out. Good. Let's lift up that right leg again. Good. And then we'll step all the way forward in between our hands into a lunge. Right foot. Go. Good. And now left hand will stay on the floor. Right hand comes up to the sky. Little twist here. Again, if this is not what we like, we can always drop that knee back behind us. Good. Exhale. Hand comes back down. find our balance here. Let's inhale to a high lunge. Good. Exhale, hands come back down. And this time we'll let that left knee lower. Left hand will stay on the floor again. Right hand is going to reach back. We'll find that toe behind us. Good. Releasing that foot, hands come back down to the mat, tucking the left toe behind us, stepping back, downward facing dog. Inhale forward. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale to a cobra or an upward facing dog. Tucking the toes, lifting the hips, pressing back, downward facing dog. That felt so good, we're going to do it again. Inhale, let's come forward. Exhale, lower down. Inhale to our back bend. Tuck the toes, pressing into the hands, lifting the hips, bending the knees. And now let's lift up that left leg. Good. Let's bend the knee, bring it into our chest, hovering forward into our plank. And then exhale, lengthening all the way back to three-legged dog. Inhale, coming forward. Exhale, back. Good. Inhale, forward. Exhale, back. Last time, inhale, forward. We'll come into our pigeon from here. The left knee comes behind the left wrist. Flexing that left foot, softening the right leg and foot back behind us, and pulling the hip forward so it can find its partner. Taking our time, settling into where we're at today on this side. Revisit the focus back into our hips, see how they're feeling. And a couple more breaths here. One more inhale. Complete that exhale. And then when we're ready, slowly we'll come back up onto our hands if we're not already there. We'll tuck that right toe. We'll step back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Give ourselves a little wiggle waggle. Good. And now we'll lift that left foot up again. Good. And we'll step forward into our lunge. Again, lunge can be on our toe behind us. We can lower it down. Good. And then our right hand will stay on the floor. The left hand comes up. Little twist here. Good. And back down. Find that balance. Inhale, high lunge. Think, keep that knee in the front, bend it as best we can. Pushing that back heel away from us. And still pull that hip forward. Good. Exhale. Hands come back down. We'll lower that right knee. Reach back with our left hand as we try and find those toes for corkscrew. Good. And then releasing. Both hands come back down to the mat, tucking that right toe back behind us, stepping back. Downward facing dog. Good. And now let's walk our hands backwards towards our toes for a forward fold. Bend the knees, drop the head, let the arms just hang, or we can hold opposite elbows. Maybe a little sway. Good. And then let's release those elbows. Inhale to a flat back, bringing our hands to our thighs or our shins, looking forward, long legs. And now exhale, let's fold forward. Maybe we can get a little bit deeper into that fold. Good. Bending the knees, hands find the mat, and we'll walk our way forward all the way into a plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. Inhale, upward facing dog. Tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Good. Inhale forward to our plank. Good and strong here. Now let's lower down to our elbows. Good. And now from here, we'll press back into our forearms, lift the hips for dolphin pose. Just a variation of our downward facing dog. So if we need to bend our knees again, keep our backs nice and straight. This feels a little bit more intense in our shoulders. Good. And then inhale, let's come forward into that forearm plank. And then we'll lower all the way down to our bellies. Elbows are underneath of our shoulders here. Opening up the fingers, pressing those buddies into our mats. Let's inhale, scooping the chest forward and then lifting into Sphinx. Now, the difficult part about Sphinx is that we want so badly to clench in that booty. See if we can relax. Lift the heart forward and then up. Relax behind us. Long necks, proud chests. Good. And now let's lower back down. We can even bring our arms to our sides. Whew. Give ourselves a little bit of a shake. Good. And then the hands will come underneath of our shoulders and we'll press all the way back to a child's pose. And now from here, let's swish our feet over to the left. And our butt will come down to the floor, and then just our left leg will come out. So our right leg is still tucked in, and we'll find ourselves in Janu Shirshasana. From here, we'll find our sitting bones. Our left leg is nice and long, toes are pointing up to the sky, and our hands will come to the center right here. And then we'll slowly walk our way forward into a little fold. And then we'll walk our way back up to the top. And now let's walk ourselves around to the right, keeping that left leg nice and long. Left arm will come to the outside of the right thigh. Right hand finds its spot behind us. Lengthen on that inhale. Exhale, we twist. We find, to the degree of what we are twisting, that made no sense. Find where we're at today. Good. And then we'll come back just so that our chest is even with this right knee. Hands will come up to the sky. Still facing a little bit right, we're just going to tip over to the left. We'll lower that left arm down to the inside of the leg. Right arm reaches up and over. Maybe it's just fingertips to the inside of the leg. We find where we're at. Do what we can. And then inhale, we'll come up to the center. We've got this right leg already bended. We're going to flex the right foot. Now we're going to take this left foot, flex it, and place it on top of the right knee for fire log pose. This one can get a little intense, so if we need to use a couch pillow to help ourselves support that knee, we totally can do that. Or we can use that breath to let that knee on the top sink down. But what we're looking for are two parallel legs, flexed feet, and then this left hip is looking towards going down to the mat. If we need, hands can come behind us, or hands can work their way forward. I'm hoping this is feeling pretty okay after that nice long pigeon that we had. do one more breath. Inhale. Exhale. And then slowly unwind those legs all the way so that our feet are out in front of us. If we need, we can just give ourselves some little windshield wiping. Just think we're almost done, guys. Good. And now we'll go over to the other side. So right leg comes out, left leg bends in for Janu Shirshasana, finding those sitting bones. And then hands are out in front of us, little fold here. Exhale. We'll just walk those fingers forward. Good. And then we'll walk those hands back towards us. Lengthen here. We'll do a little twist to the left. Good. And then we'll unwind just enough so that we are even with that right or that left knee, golly. Inhale, hands come up high. And then exhale, we'll tilt over to the right. Right arm to the inside of the leg in some fashion. Left arm can reach straight up and over, up and way over, as long as we're keeping those shoulders stacked one on top of the other as best we can. Good. And then slowly we'll come back up. Ooh. And then we'll work our way into fire log on this side. So the left foot may come out a little bit. What we want is for it to be parallel to the top of our mat, parallel to our hips. Right leg comes around and we'll stack it on top of that left knee. So ankle over knee, knee over ankle, flexing the feet. If we need, we can hold, we can prop. Ooh. Whatever we need. Don't be afraid to use your props. It's silly to hurt ourselves out of pride. Think about bringing that hip, that right hip down in toward the mat. Hands can come back behind, or we can walk them forward. One more big inhale. Use that exhale. And then we'll come back up. We will unwind. Oof. Bring those legs out in front of us. We can give ourselves that little wiggle. And then when we're ready, we'll bring those knees into our chest. Here we go. We'll rock back onto our backs into our little egg. Hug those knees tight, tight, tight into our chest. Good. And then we'll open our knees wide. Hands will come to the outside of our pinky toes here, and we'll come into dead bug, relaxing our shoulders and our head into our mats, taking that tailbone all the way down into our mats, flexing the feet, letting the weight of our arms help those knees down toward the earth. As we breathe, we should feel our tummies pressing into our thighs. As we open up that diaphragm, and now let's release those feet. We'll bring them up to the sky, reaching our fingers up. We can do a little crackleasana here as we move around into those ankles and in our wrists, wiggling the fingers and the toes, pointing and flexing, getting rid of all of that extra movement that we may still have stored up. One more big stretch here. Exhale slowly. We'll just lower the hands and feet. This is our ab exercise for the day, so take our time. Coming down. Once we get down to the mat, one more big stretch here. Reaching those hands up above us, pressing those feet, lengthening down below us. And then a big exhale. Let everything go. Our hands can come to our sides. Our legs can soften. We close our eyes. We relax in the jaw and in our face. And we give ourselves the permission to just be still. To have no expectations of ourselves for just a few quiet minutes. If we're ready, begin to bring ourselves back into our space. Deepen our breath. And gentle movement into our fingers and our toes. And then bringing those knees into our chest, we'll roll over onto a side. And help ourselves up to seated. Take a little bit of an inventory again of how we are feeling after our practice. And then we'll bring our hands together at our hearts. Bow to ourselves in gratitude for all of the gifts that we just gave ourselves. And Eddie and I thank you so much for joining us today, for taking time to allow us to share our practice with you. And I appreciate all of your dedication to yourselves, for bettering yourselves, for keeping that good connection with our mindful selves and our physical selves. I wish you all a wonderful rest of your day, a great week. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether physically or virtually, we are one. Namaste.